Welcome everyone to another CTC Software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis. I am the Director of Development here at CTC Software, and in today's session, we're going to be continuing the Nexus CMS User Learning Series, focusing on how to work as efficiently as possible with saved searches. So as always, of course, these webinars are recorded. So if you want to come back to it in the future, catch us on YouTube, that would be great. If you are watching this on YouTube, we hope this earns a like and maybe a subscription from you to catch up with future CTC videos. Now also, for those of you who are joining us live, we always encourage questions. So if you've got questions about today's topic, throw that into the questions window in the GoToWebinar system that we use, and I will try to answer those live, or we also save a QA session for the end of the live webinars. Without further ado, let's jump right in and start taking a look at today's topic. Searching for things on demand really is the reason why we're using the Nexus CMS. Now, if we're using that same search over and over and over again with pretty much the same criteria, it's a really good idea to save that search so that we can save even more time and stop inputting the same thing over and over again. Even though it's not that hard, it's just easier. So we're going to take a deep dive into how you can work with saved searches, both corporate searches that are shared with you, and we're going to take a look at saving our own searches. That's going to be the biggest, most important thing today. We're going to take a look at a couple of different things that can make our work as efficient as possible. So first off, we're going to talk about using company saved searches, because if you have those already, that's a great starting point. And just learning how to use those, how to click on them, how to execute those saved searches and get the benefits of them. We're also going to talk about tuning custom saved searches for yourself, personalized custom searches that you might do repeatedly that maybe the organization doesn't do, but you do. And then if your needs change over time, or if you refine it over time and you want to update that, we're going to take a look at how you can do that step as well. And then finally, in the future, if you realize, like, maybe I don't use this search as much as I thought I did, or this collection of searches, and I want to clean them up, or I want to edit names to make the naming conventions better so it organizes better in my list, is more searchable, we're going to take a look at how you can do that as well. Now, we're going to start today off with how do you use company saved searches. This is kind of like using saved searches in general. How do I use them? And this will include yours in the future as you save your own. Now, I'm going to be doing this from the point of view of Revit today. So I have Revit open. I have Revit 2023 open here, and I have the CMS open. And I have signed in today as a daily designer in my demo account, Joe Demo. And with this account, this user doesn't have the ability to create any publicly shared saved searches. Now, for those of you who are admins and you want to know how to do that, check back with us. We actually have a webinar already recorded, but we're going to do another session on how to do public shared saved searches for your team if you're an admin. But this one today is about the user focus. So if you're a daily designer, you don't necessarily have admin privileges, this is really tuned for you. So one of the easiest ways to leverage saved searches, if you have corporate saved searches, is to either go to this top left corner where the little hamburger exists. You can drop this down and see saved searches from here, or on the main page, the home page, you can go to saved searches, and this will show you a list of all of the saved searches you've got access to. Now, personally, I like using this page quite a lot. And the reason I like it is because I can go here to the top right and I can begin to filter. So if I wanted to filter down to just MEP stuff, I can do that. Or if I wanted CTC items that my organization share with me that are ours, I can see that as well. And so this just makes it really easy for me to be able to leverage these searches quickly. Now, to execute one of these, say I wanted to get my doors, I could just click on this. Or maybe if I'm just looking out here and I'm like, hey, I want to start a brand new project, I could do something like Revit templates. And when I click on this, it's going to run a search and it's going to set all the filter controls per my settings, per that saved search. So we've already talked about searching up here, and we've talked about some advanced things you can do. You can do pluses and minuses and, fill out the search line, but you can also leverage this filters panel over here. And what a saved search really does for you is it remembers all of the settings, saves that so that you don't have to go through and set it manually. What did this one do? Well, when I searched my templates, it searched for everything. That's the asterisk here, wildcard for everything. It searched my libraries, specifically one that was my templates for my organization. Down below that, it is sorting by name. That's one of the settings that is saved with a saved search. It is looking for exclusively Revit content. And down below that, it is exclusively looking for content in the version year of 2023. And that's primarily because of an organization setting where when I'm in a certain version of Revit, this will dynamically update depending on what the saved search settings are. But this did a lot of things. It found me all templates that's Revit content in that library and limiting it down to just the active version year that I have open. And it did that all in less than a second. Like, that's super efficient. Now I can get access to my saved searches from here as well and run them in the top left corner. And by the way, I didn't mention this a moment ago, but I'm going to mention it now since we're talking about the using company saved searches here specifically. With these company saved searches, if you're on the home tab in saved searches and you see this little logo of a building with multiple people and sort of a fully infilled and outlined person here, these are organization searches that have been shared with you from other people on your team. Those are all, in fact, all the searches I have access to right now are corporate or organization saved searches. Same thing is true up here. If you look at the search list up here from the little hamburger drop down, it's the same exact list. But again, the ones that are shared with me that I don't have the ability to edit as this user, they're all showing up here as a building with a couple of people on it. So any of these can be run at any time, and you can run them from here if you like going to this page, say, hey, I want to find MEP pipe components. I can click on this and it'll run a shared search for all the things that relate to that. That is of a category of pipes. And maybe I have nothing at this point, but it's going to find it all. Actually, that should be filtering and looking for a different library, but apparently my team didn't update that. That's all right. No big deal. If I wanted to go to CTC walls, this might be a better example. Find everything that's in my Revit content library for my company, sorted by name. That's Revit stuff. That's a basic wall in version 23, right? It sets all these filters so fast. That's the purpose of this. So I can run it from this top left run up here, or I can run it from the Save Searches page here. Either way works. You'll find which one you prefer the most. I lately have been using this drop-down list the most just because once I get to a specific area, because of how I have my filters sorted here, it makes it really easy to just kind of stay right there, and I don't have to leave the page and navigate around and make a couple of extra clicks. So personal preference, I go here. That's my choice. You might be doing something different. We'll go back to walls here for right now. So that being the case, how do you save your own personal custom searches that you do repeatedly? Well, let's see how to do this. There might be something that you're going to look for here. So I'm going to go into the CMS. I'm going to do something very specific. I'm going to go to the Autodesk out-of-the-box library specifically, and I'm going to run a search there. And I'm going to look for anything in that library that is, I don't know, we'll do something like maybe furniture. That might be a good search to run. And I'm going to find some things. And in this case right now, it's filtering for my active design app year. I might choose to not apply that for right now, and I'll show you a reason why I'm doing that in a moment. But if I hit apply, it's finding basically the same exact items here. So we're just going to be saving this search, and not the results of the search, but the criteria for the search is what we're actually saving in this case. So it's going to save that I searched for everything, the library, the fact that it's only Revit content in case there was something else in there. I like to use this option. The fact that it's, and actually let's get rid of the basic walls inside of here because I don't really want walls, just the furniture. And let's re-hit apply. Yep, still 84 total objects found, 50 of them are loaded onto the screen right now. So how do you save a search? Up here in the top right, once you've run something that you think you want to do repeatedly, hit this little disk icon, the old floppy disk, the international sort of save icon, I believe. I'm going to click that, and it's going to pop up with a little list here and let me save a brand new search. If you don't have any existing searches, the only option you'll have here is new. In a little while, we'll see something a little bit different, but for now, I'm just going to give this a name. I'm going to save this as out of the box. OOTB is my little suffix for that, or abbreviation for that, because I'm looking at the Autodesk English US Imperial out of the box library. So OOTB space dash space, that's my personal preference. I like to separate with hyphens like this. And I'm going to call this furniture. And I could give it a description for myself if I want to. If I want to call out anything specific about this that maybe I care to have a part of this criteria, and then ultimately I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And so that's now saved. That's a part of my saved searches. So if I go to this drop down up here and I go take a look, right in this list, out of the box furniture is one of the options. Now I'm seeing here that there's out of the box US Imperial doors. That was actually shared with me. I can tell because it says shared here, and it's got the little building with people. But my personal one shows up here now, out of the box furniture. Now I can run any other search. Say I do run, I don't know, something like Revit templates, and I found a template and I started a new project. But then I want to come back and I want to use my out of the box US Imperial doors or furniture that I just saved, the one that I saved. I can rerun this, and it sets all the criteria. It looks for everything that's in a particular library, that particular library. It sorts it by name. It's only showing Revit content that is furniture, and it's now filtering for version year 23. It did that automatically, even though I didn't save it. It's doing this anyway because of a setting that's actually been configured for my company as a whole. But this is me. I just saved a new search. Just hit the little save search button up here, and that is pretty much all there is to saving a brand new search for yourself for things that you do repeatedly. Now, if there's something that you want to update about a personal saved search, you can absolutely do that as well. Let me show you how you could do something with that. I'm going to run another search here really quick inside of this environment, and keeping in mind I'm in Revit 2023. And this is going to play into what's going on here for why I'm not going to get any results. I'm going to search my corporate library. I'm going to, in fact, let's do this. First off, I'm just going to clear all of these results out, clear everything out so that there's nothing showing up here. All my settings are basically refreshed to the default. And I'm going to go here to my libraries and choose Revit Content CTC. This is the library that I want to use, my CTC Express Tools little library that I use a lot for my demonstrations. I'm going to continue sorting by name. That's fine. I'm going to choose the category here of doors, and you can always filter in this list, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to filter down to doors. And then notice down here how it has my versions set to 2023. If I apply this, it's going to filter down and only give me Revit 23 content. Well, I happen to know that I have content in this library. If I uncheck the versions and let it be wide open, it's going to show me some stuff that it wasn't showing me before. And that's because these doors came from an earlier Revit version year. So what I'm going to do is save my settings just like this. Keeping in mind, I do not have my version set with this particular configuration. Normally, that's a great thing to do. I'm going to save this. I'm going to make a new search. This is my CTC Express Tools doors. If I could spell, that would be great. CTC Express Tools doors. And I'm going to save this as a new search. Now, at this point, I want to point something else out that's new for you. We have a new option here at the top that says overwrite. And this overwrite option shows up because we now have a pre-saved search that we made earlier in this little webinar here. We made an out-of-the-box furniture search. So I could choose to replace that with the criteria of this search. We'll come back to that in a minute, though. First, I'm going to do CTC Express Tools doors. That's what I want, and I'm going to save this search. That's great. So let's try this out. Let's run this. I'm going to go ahead and use my out-of-the-box furniture to set a search. I'm going to turn right back around and come up to where the CTCE stuff is, CTCE-doors. That's the one that we just saved. And I'm going to run this, and I get no results. And you might come back and go, Sean, what the heck, man? I just saved this, but now, and it worked, but now it's not doing what I want. Why is that? Well, remember I mentioned that my company has a certain thing that automatically triggers. My organization's settings say if versions is empty in a pre-save search, or when you clear your settings, automatically read whatever version of Revit is active, or AutoCAD for that matter, if you're an AutoCAD user. Read that and update the version date here to give me content that is specifically limited to that version year. I want to show you another example of this. I'm going to pin the Nexus CMS to the foreground. I'm going to pull forward Revit 2024 now. And I want to point out what happens. Notice how my design app version updates to 24. And notice how down here, the versions that it's automatically filtering for are 24. And if I go back to 23, and I go click in that design app and I'm doing work here, because we often switch between different Revit version years throughout the day. We have sometimes 2, 3, 4 projects open up at the same time. Well, this automatically, the Nexus CMS automatically switches to the correct version year. It targets that design app. It knows where it's going to be loading content into. But it also is filtering by default because of a company setting that I don't have control over as an end user. It's filtering for this version year as well. Now, if this is really inconvenient, you can always talk to your CMS admins and have them change the setting, but just understanding that it's existing here can help you out in a big way. If you're always searching stuff in a particular version year, even if it's an older version year, you can force that. So let's see something happen here. I'm going to rerun my CTC Express Tools doors search. And notice how it updates and runs based on 23, because when I saved my settings, that was in 2023. Now, what are we talking about here? We were talking about updating our personal saved searches so that we can change how it runs so that it works best for us. Here, I'm going to update this personal saved search. Oops, I accidentally clicked outside the window when I meant to kind of squish it down here. I'm going to update my personal saved search in a very specific way. I ran it here. I ran this for my search, and it filtered for the active design year that was active up here. Well, I'm going to change this and force it to go to a year that I know. So let's go take a look here. I happen to know that all of my Revit content inside of here, if I go into its detail, was processed in Revit 2020. And my BIM team hasn't updated any of this stuff to 21 or 2 or 3 or 4 yet. So when I load this, it's going to do a quick little upgrade. And it's not a big deal, but I have to know that so that when I run my search, I get the right content that I want. There's 2 different ways you could do this. I could either hit the specific year that I know all of my content is, or if it's mixed in version year, I could check all the version years in here that I want it to go after. So if I reapply this, it's going to give me all the stuff that relates to all these years. Now, because I have specifically checked these, if I resave my search, it's going to remember that I explicitly checked something, and it's going to save that in the filter. Let's see that work. I'm going to save my search. This time I'm going to use this overwrite option to update the criteria of a search that I already have in here, CTCE doors. And I'm going to save this. So it's going to replace the CTCE doors with this new criteria. So let's try this again. I'm going to go to, I double clicked, I apologize. Let's go to furniture, run a different search first. It runs a search and it sets my filter for that. It was empty, so it puts the 23. Let's come back in here, go up to CTC Express Tools doors, the one that I just re-updated. And notice this, I'm getting all the results I want because it's explicitly forcing version years. Sometimes this is good, sometimes it's not good. It really depends on how you need this to work for you, but that's the fun of using saved searches. You can tune this so that you don't have to remember this in the future. It'll just work. If you save it correctly, it'll just do what it's supposed to do, provided you're seeing your results. And then in the future, as new content gets added, because it's running a search for all things that match this criteria, it will show you all the things that match this criteria, which can be great. All right, let's talk as well about editing the names of our searches or cleaning up saved searches that maybe we no longer need, because over time you might change your search patterns and you might realize I'm not using this thing as much as I was. So how can we do that? Well, back here in the CMS, I'm going to go to my saved searches right here on the left hand side. You should have this. Even if you're not an admin, you should have this. And if you don't see any searches that you just saved, just hit the little refresh button. It'll refresh this page for you. In my case, I have this showing sort of in a gridded view, a tile view here. Some of you may prefer to see this in more of a list view, so you can see whether it's shared or not. If you are an admin, whether it's your personal one or not, you'll be able to see the description, when you created it, when you last updated it, this kind of information. For example, my CTCE doors was created earlier today, and it was updated just recently here. This is in Universal Time, UTC. So if I take my CTCE doors, maybe I want to rename this. I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to maybe put a description in. Searches 2020 through 2025. Maybe I want to specifically Revit versions 2020 through 25. Maybe that because I specifically put that in there, I might want to give myself that little note. And maybe because I noticed that the other CTC searches didn't have space dash in it, maybe I just kind of follow suit with what they had. So CTC doors, personal, maybe I just put that on here. You can do whatever you want, right? You can change the name of this, update this search so it reads the way that you want this to read. And now if you go to this drop down up here and you're looking through, you're going to see CTC doors personal grouped among all the other CTC searches that my organization has given me. And of course, I can run this whenever I want, and it's going to pull up that criteria. And if I go back to my saved searches here, maybe I make this window a little bit wider, I can see things like whatever the description is that I've given to myself for this, and I can always edit that and see what's going on. Now, a part of this is also this whole cleaning saved searches. Maybe I realize, hey, you know what, this search that I thought I was going to use a lot, I don't use. And as I expand this list out, maybe the company already gave me one that matches that, and I don't need it. I don't need my own personal one because theirs already works correctly for me. Or maybe I, again, just don't use it as much as I thought I did. To clean up searches, you can simply select the ones that you don't need. Like I actually don't use this out-of-the-box furniture search all that frequently. So maybe I want to get rid of that. I want to clean it up. So I can select it and hit delete. Or you can do multiples if you want to. Select multiples, and you can't execute or edit multiples, but you can delete multiples if you want to. So be careful with that. You don't want to destroy all your saved searches. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe you want to start over. That's up to you, of course. But I'm going to go in here with this out-of-the-box furniture saved search. I'm going to simply delete it. It's going to ask me, all right, am I sure I really want to delete that saved search? When I hit yes, it goes away, disappears from here. It disappears from my main list, so that out-of-the-box furniture is no longer here. My corporate U.S. Imperial Doors still is, but the furniture is gone. And if I go to the Home tab out here with my saved searches, it's gone from here as well. So if I hit refresh here, yeah, it's just not here. My CTC search is in there. There's my personal doors search. I could run that by just clicking, and it'll run that search. But once again, in the saved searches, that out-of-the-box furniture is no longer here. So today we talked about quite a lot of things. We talked about running corporate searches, just simply clicking on them and it runs it for you. We talked about going to the Save Search panel here, the tile from the home page, and running it here. We also sort of lightly touched on this, but you can filter through here as well. So you can really quickly get to a collection of things that makes the most sense. Maybe I'm only looking for doors, and I can see, yeah, CTC's doors, or my personal doors, or the out-of-the-box U.S. Imperial doors. I can see those searches really quickly because I'm filtering this down. So we talked about that a little bit, just talked about it again. We talked about the saving of your own search. So over here, hitting a little save icon, and you can either save new ones, or we talked about refreshing the criteria on one that already pre-exists by using overwrite. And finally, we talked about cleaning up some stuff, either renaming them for better naming conventions or deleting them from the list. So that's quite a lot of topics here for just how to deal with some saved searches. We hope that this was very beneficial for you. Now, for those of you watching this on the YouTube or as a recording later on, we want to say thank you. We hope you found this valuable, and we hope that this really helps you be able to leverage the Nexus CMS a lot better, more efficiently. The whole goal here is efficiently finding what you need and getting predictable results.